My parents canceled my 18th birthday for my sister Meltdown, so I moved out and let karma hit. This is a long one, but the ending that happened last month was so satisfying, I had to share. Fair warning, this gets pretty dark, but my family had it coming. Also, sorry for any grammar mistakes. I am still pretty emotional about all this even though it has been 2 years. I am a 20-year-old male now, but this story starts when I turned 18 2 years ago. My sister, Brittany, is a 24-year-old female and has been the family golden child since birth. We are talking full-blown princess syndrome here, the kind that makes people in restaurants stare when she throws adult tantrums. Growing up in suburban Phoenix, our dad, Kenneth, owns a mid-sized construction company specializing in custom homes. And Mom, Linda, works as a real estate agent for one of those high-end firms that sells million-dollar houses to tech executives and retirees. Combined, they pull in around $220,000 a year. So, we were solidly upper middle class with a big house in a gated community, pool in the backyard, 2-car garage, the whole Arizona dream setup. Should have been enough for both kids to have good lives, right? Wrong. Brittany learned early that tears and tantrums got her everything she wanted. I'm talking full-scale meltdowns that would make a toddler jealous, throwing herself on the floor, screaming until her face turned red, threatening to hurt herself if she did not get her way. By the time I was old enough to understand what was happening, the pattern was set in stone. She got a brand new BMW for her 16th birthday, metallic white with custom rims that cost more than most people's cars, while I got Dad's old work truck with 200,000 miles, rust spots, and a radio that only played AM stations. The disparity was not subtle. She got a $3,200 monthly allowance through her 6 years of on and off college attendance, while I worked 25 hours a week at a local gym just to pay for gas, clothes, and school supplies. When Brittany wanted to redecorate her room for the 3rd time in 2 years, Mom and Dad dropped $8,000 on designer furniture from some boutique in Scottsdale. When I asked for help buying textbooks for my AP classes, they told me to learn financial responsibility. When she wanted to go to Europe for 1 month with her sorority sisters, they covered the entire $6,000 cost without blinking. When I wanted to attend a leadership camp that cost $400, they said the family budget was tight that month. The examples were endless and infuriating. Brittany crashed her BMW junior year while texting and driving. Dad bought her an even newer model and said, "Accidents happen." I got a speeding ticket for going 5 miles over in a school zone, grounded for 1 month and had to pay the fine myself. She failed organic chemistry twice and needed expensive tutoring. No problem. They hired the best tutor money could buy. I needed help with calculus. Figure it out yourself. You are smart enough. Here's the thing though. I was the one actually holding the family together while she created chaos. While Brittany partied, skipped classes, and treated college like an extended vacation, I maintained a 4.2 GPA, worked part-time, did volunteer work at the animal shelter, tutored younger kids for free, and handled most of the household responsibilities that adults should have been managing. I was the one who remembered to pay the water bill when Mom was busy with client showings. I was the one who picked up Dad's dry cleaning when his back was acting up after long days on construction sites. I was the one who grocery shopped, meal planned, and made sure there was food in the house for family dinners. I was the one who cleaned up Brittany's messes, both literally and figuratively. My parents justified all of this by saying Brittany was more sensitive and needed extra support because she was emotionally fragile and still finding herself. Meanwhile, I was naturally responsible and did not need as much attention because I was mature for my age and could handle things independently. They made my competence and reliability sound like reasons to give me less care and attention, not more recognition and support. Every time I succeeded, they acted like it was expected. Every time Brittany failed, they acted like it was a tragedy that required the entire family's energy to address. The worst part was how they would use me to fix Brittany's problems while giving her all the credit for any eventual success. When she crashed her BMW junior year, I spent my entire weekend helping Dad assess the damage, research replacement parts, and negotiate with insurance companies. When she finally passed organic chemistry on her 3rd attempt, I had spent months tutoring her through basic concepts she should have learned in high school. When she got arrested for underage drinking at some frat party, I was the one who had to pick her up from jail at 3 a.m. because Mom and Dad were too disappointed and emotionally drained to deal with it. But when Brittany eventually graduated community college 2 years late, who got all the praise? She did. "We are so proud of how you overcame your challenges," Mom would say. Meanwhile, I was treated like the family's unpaid intern, essential for keeping everything running but invisible when it came to recognition or appreciation. I kept telling myself it would change when I turned 18. Finally, I would be legally an adult. Finally, they would have to respect me as an equal family member. Finally, I would get some recognition for everything I'd done to keep this household functioning while they focused all their attention on their problematic golden child. I could not have been more wrong about how that would play out. So, 2 years ago, I am about to turn 18. This was supposed to be huge. Legal adulthood, graduation from high school in a few months, early acceptance to Arizona State with partial scholarships based on my GPA and extracurricular activities. I had been looking forward to this birthday for literally years. For once, I wanted to feel like the center of attention in a positive way. Not because I was fixing someone else's problem or covering for family dysfunction, but because I was actually being celebrated for who I was and what I had accomplished. I asked my parents if we could have a nice party. Nothing crazy or expensive, just family, some friends from school and work, maybe 25 to 30 people total. We could do it in our backyard, grill some food, set up music, celebrate properly. I even offered to help pay for it with money I had saved from my job. Mom and Dad seemed genuinely excited about the idea. Our baby is becoming a man, Mom kept saying to her friends and clients. Dad even offered to rent one of those inflatable obstacle courses because he thought it would be fun and nostalgic. We spent weeks planning everything, sent out proper invitations 3 weeks early, ordered a custom cake from the fancy bakery downtown, planned a whole menu of grilled burgers, hot dogs, and sides. Mom even helped me create a playlist of music that would appeal to different age groups. I invited everyone who mattered to me. My best friend, Marcus, my girlfriend, Sarah, teammates from the wrestling team, guys from work at the gym, my favorite teacher who had written recommendation letters and believed in me when others did not. Even my boss, who had been like a mentor and father figure. This was going to be my moment to show everyone that the quiet, responsible kid had actually made something of himself. I had been accepted to a good university, had scholarship money, maintained relationships with quality people, and was ready to start my adult life on solid ground. Then, exactly 3 days before the party, Brittany's spring break trip to Cancun got canceled. She had been planning this trip for months with her college friends. A week at some luxury resort where rooms cost $400 a night. Parties every night at beachfront clubs. Instagram photo shoots with professional photographers. The whole influencer lifestyle experience she was constantly chasing. Dad had already dropped $4,500 on her portion of the resort, flights, and spending money. She had spent weeks shopping for the perfect bikinis, getting spray tans, buying new designer luggage. But her friend group had some massive falling out over drama I never fully understood. And suddenly the trip was off, deposits were lost, and Brittany was stuck at home with nothing to do during her spring break. She came home Friday afternoon absolutely losing her mind. I am talking full-scale nuclear meltdown, crying, screaming, throwing things in her room, slamming doors, the whole performance. She had been counting on this trip as her reward for finally passing her classes that semester. My parents went into full crisis mode immediately. Mom called in sick to work to comfort her, canceling 3 client meetings and potentially losing commissions. Dad canceled his weekend golf plans and his poker night with his buddies. They ordered her favorite Thai food from the expensive place across town, ran her a bubble bath with those overpriced bath bombs she loves, even called her therapist to schedule an emergency session. They basically treated her like she was grieving a death, instead of missing a vacation that most people could never afford in the first place. Saturday morning, less than 24 hours before my party, I am in the kitchen at 7 a.m. helping prep food and set up decorations when Brittany comes downstairs in her silk pajamas, eyes still red and puffy from her ongoing drama festival. "I cannot handle having a party here tomorrow," she announced like she was delivering a medical diagnosis. "I am too emotionally fragile right now. The noise and all those people will trigger my anxiety about the trip situation and set back my emotional recovery." My stomach dropped to the floor. "Brittany, it is my birthday party. We have had this planned for weeks. People are already planning to come." "I know, and I am sorry about the timing," she said, fresh tears starting to flow. "But I am going through something really traumatic right now. I need the house to be calm and peaceful so I can process my feelings about this disappointment. Having a party would be really insensitive to my current emotional state." Mom immediately started nodding along like Brittany was making perfect sense. "She has a point. Honey, your sister is dealing with a lot of disappointment and rejection right now. This Cancun situation has really shaken her confidence." I could not believe what I was hearing. "Mom, it is my 18th birthday. This is a major milestone. People are already expecting to come. I invited my teacher, my boss, Sarah's parents." That is when Brittany played her trump card. "If you really cared about me as your sister, you would postpone it until I am feeling better. Family should support each other during difficult times, not make things worse by being selfish." Dad walked into the kitchen during this conversation and immediately sided with her without even hearing my perspective. "Son, your sister needs us right now. You are strong enough to handle a little disappointment. She is not built the same way you are." "But Dad, everyone is expecting to celebrate tomorrow. I have been planning this for weeks. I ordered a cake, bought decorations, planned the whole menu." "We will reschedule for next weekend," he said firmly, already mentally moving on to the next topic. "Family comes first, and right now your sister needs our support more than you need a party. You will have plenty of other birthdays." The casual dismissal of my milestone birthday, the dismissal of me as a person who mattered, hit like a physical punch to the gut. This was not just about a party being canceled. This was about 18 years of being treated like my needs, feelings, and accomplishments did not matter. Whenever Brittany had any kind of crisis or inconvenience, I spent the rest of Saturday making humiliating phone calls to cancel everything. My girlfriend was confused and hurt that I would wait until the last minute to cancel. My friends were disappointed, and some of them already had plans for the following weekend. My teacher seemed genuinely concerned about me and asked if everything was okay at home. My boss was understanding, but clearly thought it was weird that I would cancel my own birthday party. I had to lie to everyone and say I was suddenly sick because I could not admit that my own family had canceled my birthday party to accommodate my sister's vacation drama. The humiliation was unbearable. Meanwhile, Brittany spent the entire day lounging by the pool in a designer bikini, posting melancholy Instagram stories about dealing with life's disappointments and learning to find peace in unexpected changes. She looked like she was having a spa day, not processing emotional trauma. That night, as I sat alone in my room on what should have been the eve of my big celebration, I made a decision that would change the trajectory of my entire life. I was done being this family's emotional support animal, problem solver, and unpaid maintenance staff. The next morning, my actual 18th birthday, I woke up to absolutely zero acknowledgement from my family. No happy birthday, no special breakfast, no gifts, no recognition that this day was different from any other Sunday. Mom was too busy making Brittany her favorite protein smoothie with expensive organic ingredients, and Dad was already at a construction site because Sunday was apparently just another workday when it came to my birthday. The house felt exactly the same as every other day, except now I was officially an adult being treated like an invisible child. Around noon, Brittany actually had the audacity to complain that I was bringing down the mood by being quiet and distant. "It is not my fault your party got canceled," she said while scrolling through her phone and eating the fancy brunch Mom had prepared for her. "You do not have to take your bad mood out on everyone else. Some of us are dealing with real problems." That is when something fundamental snapped inside me. I realized I had options I had never seriously considered before. I was 18 now, legally an adult with rights and freedoms. I had money saved from 2 years of working at the gym. I had friends whose families actually valued me and treated me with respect. Most importantly, I had the grades, scholarships, and college acceptance to build a life independent of these people who clearly did not appreciate or value me. I started making strategic phone calls from my room. First, I called my wrestling coach. His family had always been kind to me, and I knew they had an extra room since their oldest son had left for college. When I explained the situation in general terms, they immediately offered to let me stay with them as long as I needed. "You are like a son to us anyway," his wife said when she got on the phone. "We would be honored to have you here during your senior year." Second, I called my boss at the gym. He had been encouraging me to take on more hours and had even mentioned that his other location across town needed reliable help. When I asked about the possibility of full-time work, he said he could start me at 30 hours a week immediately. "You are the most responsible kid I have ever hired," he told me. "If you need more income for independence, I have got opportunities for you." Third, I called my school counselor at her home number. She was shocked when I told her what had happened and immediately offered to help me figure out the logistics of finishing senior year while living independently. "What your parents did was completely inappropriate," she said. "An 18th birthday is a major milestone, and canceling it for the reasons you described shows a serious problem with family priorities." By Sunday evening, I had a comprehensive plan for independence. I spent the following week being completely normal on the surface, went to school, worked my regular shifts at the gym, did my usual household responsibilities like nothing had changed. My parents thought my attitude had improved and were proud that I was handling disappointment maturely. What they did not know was that I was quietly moving my important belongings out of the house, a few items each day to my coach's place. My important documents, my electronics, my best clothes, books, wrestling trophies, anything that actually mattered to me. I also stopped doing all the little things that kept the household running smoothly. Did not remind Dad about upcoming bill due dates. Did not organize Mom's client paperwork or update her calendar. Did not clean up random messes around the house. Did not grocery shop or meal plan. The following Saturday, exactly 1 week after my canceled birthday, I finished the job. I waited until both parents were out of the house, and Brittany was at the mall spending money she did not earn. I packed the rest of my belongings into garbage bags and boxes, systematically emptying my room of everything that belonged to me. I left a note on my bed along with my house key. Since my needs, feelings, and milestones do not seem to matter in this family, I have decided to go somewhere they do. Do not contact me unless you are ready to genuinely apologize and make real changes to how you treat me. I will finish high school and start my adult life with people who actually value and respect me. This is not a tantrum or a phase. This is me choosing to surround myself with people who treat me like I matter. I loaded everything into my old truck, took one last look at the house I had lived in for 18 years, and drove away knowing I would never live there again. The immediate sense of relief and freedom was overwhelming. For the first time in my life, I was making a major decision based purely on what was best for me, not what was most convenient for everyone else. Quick pause, fellas. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you are hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. Thanks so much for your support. Alright, back to the drama. Living with my coach's family was like stepping into a parallel universe, where children were actually valued, supported, and treated with respect. They celebrated my presence, asked about my day, included me in family decisions, and treated me like a valued family member instead of unpaid household help. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was living with people who genuinely wanted me there. Meanwhile, my original family was falling apart without me there to hold everything together, and the process was both fascinating and satisfying to watch unfold. The first signs appeared within days. I had been the one handling most administrative tasks that kept the household functioning. Bill reminders, appointment scheduling, grocery shopping, meal planning, basic organization. Without me there as the family's unpaid personal assistant, things started slipping through the cracks immediately. Within 3 weeks of my departure, they had missed their mortgage payment, got late fees on multiple credit cards, and Mom lost a major client because she forgot about a crucial deadline that I normally would have tracked for her. But the real chaos was Brittany. See, with me gone, my parents suddenly had to deal with her problems directly instead of having me as a buffer, mediator, and problem solver. And man, did she have problems that had been accumulating like a ticking time bomb. First, she failed 2 classes that semester and got put on academic probation. Without me there to tutor her, help with assignments, and basically do half her coursework, she was completely lost. She had been relying on my help for so long that she had never actually learned how to study, research, or manage her academic responsibilities. Dad had to hire an expensive private tutor at $75 an hour, but Brittany kept skipping sessions because she did not vibe with the teaching style. Then she got arrested again, this time for shoplifting at an upscale boutique in Scottsdale. Apparently, she had been stealing makeup, accessories, and clothes for months. She got caught trying to steal a $300 purse, and the store pressed charges. Dad had to hire an attorney and pay thousands in legal fees, restitution, and court costs. The worst part was that she had been stealing not because she could not afford things, but because she enjoyed the thrill and felt entitled to whatever she wanted. But the most devastating discovery was that she had been systematically stealing from Mom and Dad for years. With me gone, there was no one to cover for missing money, make excuses for unexplained expenses, or help balance the books. They discovered she had been taking cash from Mom's purse, using Dad's credit cards for unauthorized purchases, even forging signatures on checks. The total amount was staggering, over $35,000 in unauthorized spending over 2 years. Money that could have paid for my college expenses. Money that could have secured their retirement. Instead of finally holding her accountable, they doubled down on enabling her behavior. Dad took out a second mortgage on the house to pay for her legal fees and accumulated debt. Mom started working 7 days a week to cover the extra expenses. I watched all of this unfold through social media, mutual friends, and the community gossip network. My parents looked exhausted and stressed in every photo. Their perfect family image was cracking publicly. They tried calling me constantly, of course, left dozens of increasingly desperate voicemails begging me to come home and talk to help the family get through this difficult time, to be the mature one and work things out. But notice what was consistently missing from every message. No apology for canceling my birthday. No acknowledgement that they treated me unfairly. Just guilt trips about how my absence was making their lives harder. "Please, son, we need you here," Dad's voicemails would say. "Your sister is really struggling without you to help her, and your mom and I do not know how to handle all these problems on our own." But I stayed strong and did not respond to any of their attempts at contact. I was thriving in my new environment, maintaining my 4.2 GPA, working 30 hours a week, training with the wrestling team, building genuine friendships with people who valued me. I was finally living for myself instead of constantly cleaning up everyone else's messes. By the time I graduated high school with honors and a full scholarship to Arizona State, my original family situation had gone from bad to absolutely catastrophic. Brittany had dropped out of college entirely after getting expelled for academic dishonesty. She had been caught having other students write her papers, paying people to take online tests for her, and even submitting assignments she had stolen from previous students. The final straw was when she tried to bribe a professor to change her grade. Dad was so desperate to save her future that he had paid $15,000 to some sketchy online program that promised she could get a degree in business management in 6 months. Obviously, it was a complete scam that left them with nothing but a worthless certificate and more debt. Mom's real estate career was suffering badly because she was too distracted, stressed, and emotionally drained to focus properly on clients. She had lost several major deals due to missed appointments, forgotten deadlines, and basic mistakes that never would have happened when I was there to help her stay organized. Her reputation in the competitive Phoenix real estate market was tanking. Dad's construction company was struggling too. Without me there to help with paperwork, organization, and basic business administration, he had made several costly mistakes on project bids and material calculations. He had also borrowed heavily against the business to fund Brittany's various crises. But the real kicker was their social reputation and standing in the community. See, people in our close-knit suburban neighborhood had started noticing things. Brittany's legal troubles had made it into the local police report that gets published in the community newsletter. Their financial stress was becoming obvious as they sold Dad's boat, then Mom's luxury car, then started skipping social events they could no longer afford. Worst of all, word was getting around about why I had left home. My former teachers, wrestling teammates, and friends' parents were asking questions. When the truth came out about my 18th birthday being canceled for Brittany's vacation drama, the community judgment was swift and harsh. Phoenix is a big city, but our suburban community is small enough that reputation and social standing really matter. Other parents started avoiding mine at school events and neighborhood functions. Dad began losing potential business from people who did not want to associate with a man who would treat his responsible, accomplished son so poorly. Mom lost clients who preferred working with real estate agents who demonstrated good judgment and stable family values. In a business built on trust and relationships, her family's dysfunction became a professional liability. The contrast was stark and public. Here I was thriving in my senior year, getting recognized for academic achievements, winning wrestling matches, being celebrated by my coach's family and my teachers, while my original family was imploding in spectacular fashion. They had built their entire identity around being the successful family with the perfect kids. Without me there to maintain that image, and with Brittany's problems becoming increasingly public, that carefully constructed identity collapsed completely. The calls and messages to me became daily, multiple times per day. The voicemails got longer, more desperate, and more revealing about just how badly things were falling apart. Son, please, we know we made mistakes, but we need you here. Your mother is crying every night and cannot sleep. The business is struggling and I do not know how to organize everything the way you used to. People in the neighborhood keep asking about you and we do not know what to tell them. But I held firm in my decision and did not respond to any of their attempts at contact. I was living my best life. Graduated with a 4.4 GPA, earned a full scholarship to Arizona State University, got promoted to shift supervisor at the gym, maintained a healthy relationship with my girlfriend Sarah, and built genuine friendships with people who respected and valued me. The beginning of my sophomore year in college, about 18 months after I had left home, Brittany had her biggest crisis yet, and this time, it destroyed what remained of my parents' financial stability and social standing. She had gotten involved with some guy who convinced her she could make easy money through cryptocurrency investment. This was not legitimate investing. This was some obvious pyramid scheme involving a fake currency that promised 500% returns in 6 months. Using her access to family finances, Brittany transferred $45,000 from my parents' savings account into this scam. This represented their entire emergency fund, most of their retirement savings, and money they had been planning to use to pay off the second mortgage. When the investment predictably disappeared along with the scammers who had created it, my parents lost everything they had worked decades to save. But that was not even the worst part of Brittany's financial destruction. Over the previous 1 year, she had also been systematically running up debt in my parents' names. Credit cards they did not know about, personal loans using their information, even a car loan for a vehicle she had immediately crashed while driving under the influence. She had become sophisticated in her financial manipulation, using their good credit and family information to access money they had never authorized. By the time they discovered the full extent of her fraud, she had created over $80,000 in debt that they were legally responsible for. Combined with the lost savings, the total financial damage was well over $125,000, enough to completely destroy their middle-class lifestyle. The financial devastation was swift and complete. They had to declare bankruptcy, which ruined their credit and professional reputations. They were forced to sell the house they had lived in for 15 years, the house where I had grown up, the house that represented their version of the American dream. They moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment in a less desirable part of town, lost most of their possessions in the downsizing, and faced the reality of starting over financially in their 50s. Dad's construction business collapsed under the debt load and legal complications. Mom had to take a job at a big corporate real estate firm where she made a fraction of her previous income and had no autonomy or respect. But the personal cost was even higher than the financial devastation. Brittany, faced with actual consequences for the first time in her 26 years of life, had a complete mental breakdown. She could not handle the reality that her actions had destroyed her family's stability, could not cope with the guilt and shame, could not function when people finally held her accountable for her choices. She moved back in with my parents in their tiny apartment and became completely dependent on them for everything: emotional support, financial support, basic life management. She could not hold a job for more than a few weeks, could not manage basic adult responsibilities, could not function as an independent person. My parents, now in their 50s and financially devastated, found themselves caring for a 26-year-old woman child while living paycheck to paycheck in cramped conditions. The stress of supporting 3 adults on 2 minimum wage incomes while dealing with bankruptcy proceedings was overwhelming. The pressure destroyed their marriage. After 25 years together, they separated 6 months later, unable to cope with the stress, blame, and resentment that had built up around Brittany's behavior and their enabling of it. Dad moved in with his brother and started working construction jobs for his former competitors, earning a fraction of what he had made as a business owner. Mom took a second job at a retail store just to make ends meet, working 60 hours a week to afford rent and basic necessities. The perfect family image they had worked decades to build was completely destroyed, and their community reputation was in ruins. People who had once respected them now saw them as cautionary tales about the dangers of enabling toxic behavior in adult children. Last month, everything came full circle, in the most satisfying and vindicating way possible. I was at my apartment near Arizona State University campus studying for finals in my business administration program when I got a call from a number I did not recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. It was Dad calling from his brother's phone because I had blocked all their numbers over 1 year ago. "Son," he said, and I could hear years of exhaustion, defeat, and genuine desperation in his voice. "Please do not hang up. I know you have every right to hate us and never speak to us again, but we need to talk. We need to ask for your help." I almost ended the call immediately, but something in his tone, a brokenness I had never heard before, made me listen. "Your mother and I, we have lost everything. The house, the business, our savings, our marriage, our reputation in the community. We are living apart now, both working 2 minimum wage jobs just to survive. And Brittany is completely dependent on us, but we cannot even take care of ourselves anymore." He was quiet for a moment, and I could hear him struggling to compose himself. "We know why you left. We have had 2 years to think about it, and we know we treated you terribly. We canceled your 18th birthday for something that did not matter. And we have been paying the price ever since. You were the one holding our family together, and we threw you away like you did not matter." For the first time in my life, I heard genuine remorse and self-awareness in his voice. "We need help," he admitted. And I could hear how much it cost him to say those words. "Not money, we know we do not deserve that, and you are a college student, but advice, guidance, someone who knows how to make responsible decisions. You are the only one in this family who has their life together. You are thriving in college. You have built a life for yourself. You have become everything we should have supported you to be from the beginning." I let him finish his whole speech. He talked about how proud they were of my grades, my independence, my maturity, how they had been following my social media from a distance and bragging to people about my accomplishments while pretending they were still part of my life. "People ask about you all the time," he said. "They want to know how our successful son is doing in college. And we have to pretend like we still have a relationship with you when the truth is we destroyed it through our own selfishness and poor judgment." Then Mom got on the phone and she was openly crying. "Baby, I am so sorry. I know we do not deserve your forgiveness, but we have realized that you were the best thing about our family and we threw it away. We do not know how to fix any of this without you. We do not know how to help Brittany become a functional adult. We do not know how to rebuild our lives. We have made so many mistakes, but the biggest one was not valuing you when we had you." When they finished their emotional speeches, I took a deep breath and told them exactly what I thought with the clarity and confidence that comes from 2 years of independence and personal growth. "You are absolutely right. You do not deserve forgiveness. You canceled my 18th birthday because Brittany's vacation got canceled. You spent my entire childhood treating me like unpaid help while giving her everything she wanted. You enabled her into becoming a financial criminal who destroyed your lives, and you did it because you could not bear to hold her accountable for anything. But here's the thing," I continued, feeling stronger and more certain with every word. "I do not need your family anymore. I have built something better without you. I have people who value me, support me, and celebrate my successes. I have mentors who believe in me, friends who respect me, and a future that I am building through my own efforts. I do not need to be your emotional support child or your problem solver." The silence on the other end was profound and telling. "However," I said, surprising myself with my next words, "I am willing to have a relationship with you under very specific conditions. First, Brittany gets serious professional help and starts contributing to society instead of being a drain on everyone around her. She needs to get a job, pay back what she stole, and prove she can function as an adult. Second, you both acknowledge publicly that you treated me unfairly and that my leaving was completely justified. Third, any relationship we have going forward is based on mutual respect, not your need for me to fix problems you created." Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "Anything. We will do anything you ask. And fourth," I added, "you need to understand that I am not your son coming home to save the family. I am an independent adult offering a conditional relationship to people who need to prove they have fundamentally changed, how they approach family dynamics and personal responsibility." They agreed to every condition without hesitation or negotiation. Over the past month, I have watched them follow through. Dad has gotten Brittany into intensive therapy and required her to get a part-time job at a fast food restaurant, her first real employment in years. Mom has been working on a public apology letter acknowledging their mistakes and my justified decision to leave. They are both in family counseling to address their enabling behaviors and learn healthier relationship patterns. Will I ever fully forgive them? Probably not. The damage was too deep and lasted too long. But watching them lose everything they prioritized over me while I built a successful independent life has been the most satisfying revenge I could have asked. To better understand the nature of the problem, let's temporarily set aside the emotions of the main character and analyze this series of events from a broader perspective. Families often talk about keeping the peace, about sacrificing quietly for the sake of harmony, about protecting the most fragile member at any cost. But when those ideas are twisted, they can create a dangerous imbalance where responsibility becomes punishment and dysfunction becomes protected. In many homes, the capable child becomes invisible precisely because they are capable. The one who behaves responsibly is expected to endure more, fix more, carry more, until their strength is quietly exploited. Meanwhile, the person who causes chaos is shielded from consequences in the name of love. Over time, that pattern does not build a stronger family. It builds a fragile illusion that collapses the moment the quiet stabilizer finally walks away. Looking at what happened here, the collapse was not caused by one dramatic decision. It was the result of years of choices, small ones that seemed harmless at the time. Every excuse made for destructive behavior, every moment when accountability was postponed for the sake of temporary comfort, every time fairness was sacrificed to avoid conflict. Those choices slowly trained everyone in the family to play a role. One person became the caretaker, one became the crisis, and the parents became the referees who kept protecting the wrong side. When the caretaker finally stepped out of the system, the structure that depended on him simply revealed how unstable it had always been. And this is where the story stops being just about one family and starts speaking directly to you and to me. Because many people listening to stories like this recognize pieces of their own lives in them. Maybe you were the responsible one who kept everything functioning. Maybe you were told that your strength meant you needed less love, less celebration, less support. When you finally step back and tell the truth about that imbalance, some people will accuse you of breaking the family. But setting a boundary is not destruction. Sometimes it is the first honest act that gives everyone a chance to change. I think that is the uncomfortable truth behind endings like this. Silence can protect a family's image for years, but honesty forces it to face reality. Walking away is painful, but sometimes distance is the only thing that reveals the consequences of choices people refuse to see. And when accountability finally arrives, it does not always look like revenge. Sometimes it simply looks like someone refusing to carry a burden that was never meant to be theirs. So here is the question that lingers after everything settles. If you discovered that the peace in your family only existed because one person silently carried everyone else's mistakes, would you continue protecting that illusion, or would you risk tearing it apart so something healthier could finally grow in its place?